All right, that's working. Cool. Welcome to the Yours Truly Baphomet podcast, everyone. We are now doing the 13th trip of High Priest from Dr. Timothy Leary. Last one was incredible, actually. It was sort of like about the world stage and that kind of thing, and how we're sort of all actors in it, and how he sort of realized Timothy Leary had been living an extremely plastic life, which is interesting to think about. And, you know, that is definitely the case for a lot of people, I reckon. And I don't think it's a mistake that we're also full of microplastics, so we're more plastic than ever when you think about it. So I just want to say thank you for tuning in. So please like, comment, share, subscribe to my Substack. And we are now getting into trip 13, the devil number. Are heaven and hell real? I don't think they are in the Christian context, but they are real. But they're more states of mind. Like we know how we say I've been to hell and back. You know, it was like, I'm in heaven. So they're states. So they're states of flux and they're not permanent. And you know what's interesting? So like how with the Christos, if you reject the eternal light, which is Jesus, for this, you will be damned for hell forever. And that's actually not entirely incorrect. But the axiom is that if you reject your eternal light, the Christos, your internal light, you will be in hell forever. And that is what it looks like. But now that we're going to get into it, let's look at this. So winter 1961, Ralph Metzner, Oracle 20, Contemplation, the gentle wind, the receptive earth. The wind blows over the earth, the image of contemplation. Thus the kings of old visited the regions of the world, contemplated the people, and gave them instruction. All right. So let's see if this is a different trip, because most of them have been psilocybin, but Leary did an LSD trip last time, so maybe this is ayahuasca or dimethyltryptamine through smoking it or whatever. So we're about to find out, I guess. So during the first year of Harvard's psychedelic research project, rumors circulated about a powerful psychedelic chemical called dimethyltryptamine, DMT. The effect of this substance was supposed to last for less than an hour and to produce terrorizing effects. It was alleged to be the horror show drug of the psychedelic family. William Burroughs had tried it in London and radioed back an urgent warning. Burroughs was working at the time on a theory of neurological geography, certain cortical areas being heavenly, others being diabolical. Here we go. Like an explorer moving into a new continent, he believed it important to map out the friendly areas of the brain and the hostile. In Burroughs' pharmacology cartography, DMT propelled the Voyager into strange and decidedly unfriendly territory. Sort of interesting because it is sort of associated with darkness, and you sort of best take it at night. And that's sort of what ayahuasca is. It's sort of like it's nighttime, it's the feminine, it's the water, darkness, emotion, that kind of thing. So it's like the mystery part of it. Burroughs told a gripping tale about a psychiatrist in London who had taken DMT with a friend. After a few minutes, the frightened friend began requesting help. The psychiatrist himself, being spun through a universe of shuttling, vibratory pigments, reached for his hypodermic needle, which had been fragmented into a shimmering assemblage of wave mosaics, and bent over to administer an antidote. Much to his dismay, his friend, twisting in panic, was suddenly transformed into a writhing, wiggling reptile, jewel-encrusted and sparkling. The doctor's dilemma: where to make an intravenous injection in a squirming oriental Martian snake. Oh, dear. Alan once had a DMT story to tell. He took the drug as part of a California research project and a plan to demonstrate that he could maintain rational control and verbal fluency during the experience. The closest equivalent might be to attempt a moment-to-moment description of one's reactions while being fired out the muzzle of an atomic cannon with Neo-Byzantine barreling. I just want to write something down here. Dr. Watts gave an awful description of perceptual fusion. In the fall of 1962, while giving a three-day series of lectures to the Southern California Society of Clinical Psychologists, Dick Alpert and I fell into discussion with a psychiatrist who was collecting data on DMT, or dimethyltryptamine. He had given the drug to over 100 subjects and only 4 had reported pleasant experiences. This was a challenge to setting hypothesis. Can chemicals produce specific changes in consciousness? Was the molecular structure of DMT such that it automatically produced hell trips? Is there really a hell area of the nervous system? Or is it not the expectation and surroundings which make the experience hellish or heavenly? A basic theological issue is involved here. It's the ancient question that has divided philosophers for several thousand years. We become involved once again in the bitter debate that rent the academic calm of the Middle Ages, realism or nominalism. The problem of universals, do qualities really exist, or are they just interpretations that the mind imposes? Do redness, goodness, sharpness really exist? Does evil exist? Does the devil exist? Does psychosis exist? You know, there is that weird debate about like whether evil actually really exists or not. And it's an interesting thought, I think. I'm still to this day on the fence about whether evil is actually real or not. But I do think there is like positive and negative polarities to all actions and phenomena. It's mathematics, right? Because the world is a dynamic net zero. So that would have to imply that something is, I guess, less like some... I guess if you look at it from a mathematical perspective, it could be considered evil. But everything implies that there needs to be a negative charge. But is like evil just a thing of arbitration because negativity is like unpleasant, it sucks, it's shit. No one likes negative experiences. No one really likes negative emotions. No one really likes to live a negative existence. So think about that for a second. So does the devil exist? Does psychosis exist? Is there an area... is there an area of the brain in which hell is to be found? And one specific molecular key to this area? Or do we simply create these categories with our minds? Look for our mind's eye to find them and then proclaim the redundancy to be a fact, and then armed with the schoolmaster's rod teach the names and facts to our children, who then obediently discover and confirm the reality of our names and facts, and then armed with sword strike down or imprison those who doubt the reality of our names or facts. This most basic debate has raged in every culture and philosophy and religion. The hard reality of Brahmins and the soft-flowing Buddhas, the fixed dualists and the easy monists. Tertullian verse Augustine, Saint Jerome verse Joannes Scotus Erigena, certainty of Polu, and the divine names of Dionysus, the Areopagi. The rigid theology of the Vatican verse the empty godhood of Eckhart. The Islamic orthodoxy of Baghdad versus the intoxicated pantheism of the Sufis. The legal finality of the Sanhedrin verse Essene fervor. Here it comes again. Well, that's actually, yeah, so obviously there's still that real debate, what's good and what's evil, but they all generate each other, right? And I think ultimately the only true good, when I think about it, is does your equation go to zero? That's the only thing that is the ultimate good. The ultimate good is zero in nature. It's nothing. That's the ultimate good, is nothing. When you think about it. Because by creating a positive impact, you're creating a negative impact somewhere else and vice versa. So that comes to leave the debate, I reckon, is the world evil or is heaven evil? Like the pleroma. Is absolute nothingness evil or is the world evil? That's all it really comes down to, I reckon. If we're going to go off really strange arbitrations. The old ontological quarrel. Does a psychedelic drug produce any definite reaction, or is it the experience created by the divine freedom of the experiencer? Are God and the devil out there or within? Does LSD cause psychosis or multiple orgasm? Does DMT trigger off a neurological horror show or new levels of Satori? We have found little difference among psychedelic drugs, as nominalists and ecstatics we were convinced that the elaborate clinical variations allegedly found in reactions to different drugs were psychedelic folktales. We were sticking to our null hypothesis that psychedelic drugs had no specific effect on consciousness except to expand it, and that expectation, preparation, spiritual climate, and the emotional contract with the drug giver accounted for specific differences in reaction, good trips or bad trips. We were eager to see if the fabled terror drug DMT would fit the setting theory. A session was arranged. We came to the home of the psychiatrist accompanied by a Vedanta monk and 2 female friends. After a lengthy and friendly discussion with the physician, Dick Alpert lay down on a couch. His girlfriend's head rested on his chest. I sat on the edge of the couch, smiling reassurance. 50 mgs of DMT were administered intramuscularly. Within 2 minutes, Dick Alpert's face was glowing with serene joy. For the next 23 minutes, he gasped and murmured in pleasure. Keeping up an amused and ecstatic account of his visions, exactly 25 minutes after administration. He smiled, sighed, sat up swinging his legs over the side of the couch and said, "It lasted for 1,000,000 years and for a split second. Now it's your turn." Interesting. With the reassuring precedent, I took a position on the couch. Virginia sat on the floor holding my hand. Dick sat at the foot of the couch, radiating benevolence. 5 minutes after the injection, lying comfortably on the bed, I felt typical psychedelic onset symptoms, a pleasant somatic looseness, a sensitive tuning into physical sensations. Eyes closed, typical LSD visions, the exquisite beauty of retinal and physical machinery, transcendence of mental activity, serene detachment, comforting awareness of Virginia's hand and the presence of friends. Suddenly, I opened my eyes and sat up. The room was celestial, glowing with radiant illumination. Light, light, light. The people present were transfigured. God-like creatures who were all united as one organism. Beneath the radiant surface, I could see the delicate, wondrous body machinery of each person, the network of muscle and vein and bone, exquisitely beautiful and all joined, all part of the same process. Our group was sharing a paradisial experience. Each one in turn was to be given the key to eternity. Now it was my turn. I was experiencing this ecstasy for the group. Later, the others would voyage. We were members of a transcendent collectivity. Dick Alpert coached me tenderly, handed me a mirror where I saw my face, a stained glass portrait. Virginia's face was that of all women, wise, beautiful, eternal. Her eyes were all female eyes. She murmured exactly the right message. It can always be this way. The incredible, complex unity of the evolutionary process, staggering, endless in its variety. Why? Where is it going? Etc., etc. The old questions and the laughter of the amused, ecstatic paradox. Too much, too great, never mind, it can't be figured out. Love it in gratitude and accept the mystery. I would lean forward to search for meaning in Virginia's China-flecked face and fall back on the pillow in reverent, awed laughter. Gradually, the brilliant illumination faded back to the 3D world, and I sat up, reborn, renewed, radiant with affection and reverence. I had tripped to the highest point of LSD illumination, a jewel-like Satori. It was not cellular, not somatic, not sensory. It was a world of vibrations, no fear, some moments of benign paranoia that I was the happy victim of some celestial plan for illumination. Immediately after my return, the drug was administered to the Hindu monk. This dedicated man had spent 14 years in meditation and renunciation. He was a sannyasin entitled to wear the sacred saffron robe. He had participated in several psychedelic drug sessions with extremely positive results and was convinced that the biochemical road to samadhi was not only valid, but perhaps the most natural method for people living in a technological civilization. Interesting thought, because we constantly have that berating thing of, it's cheating, right? But it's a tool. And obviously this guy, in a world where everything's blisteringly fast, you can't just sit there in a cave for 30 years and hope for illumination. It's not going to happen. His reaction to DMT was, however, confusing and unpleasant. Catapulted into a sudden ego loss, he struggled to rationalize his experience in terms of classic Hindu techniques. He kept looking up at the group in puzzled helplessness. Suspicion, reproach, defiance. Promptly at 25 minutes, he sat up, laughed sheepishly. What a paranoid trip. I really got trapped. The lesson was clear. DMT, like the other psychedelics keys, could open an infinity of possibilities. Settings, suggestibility, temperamental background were always there as filters through which the ecstatic experience could be distorted. Thus, also in nature, a holy seriousness is to be seen in the fact that natural occurrences are uniformly subject to law. Contemplation of the divine meaning underlying the workings of the universe gives to the man who is called upon to influence others to means of producing like effects. On return to Cambridge, arrangements were made with a drug company, and we were with our medical consultant to run a systematic research on the new substance. During the subsequent months, we ran over 100 sessions at first training exercises for experienced researchers, and then later trials with subjects completely inexperienced in psychedelic matters. The percentage of successful ecstatic sessions ran high, over 90%. The setting hypothesis clearly held for DMT in regard to positive experiences. But there were certain definitive characteristics of the DMT experience which were markedly different from the standard psychedelics, LSD, psilocybin, mescaline. First of all, the duration. The 8-hour trip was reduced to around 30 minutes. The intensity was greater as well. This is to say, the shattering of learned form perception, the collapse of the learned structure was much more pronounced. Eyes closed produced a soft, silent, lightning-fast whirling dance of incredible cellular forms. Acre upon acre of softly spinning organic forms. A swirling, tumbling, soft rocket ride through factories of tissue. The variety and reality of the precise, exquisite, feathery clockwork organic machinery. Many LSD subjects reported endless odysseys through the network of circulatory tunnels, but with DMT, a subcellular cloud ride in a world of ordered, moving beauty which defies external metaphor. Eyes open produced a similar collapse of external objects. Faces and things no longer had form, but were seen as shimmering play of vibrations. Perception of solid structures was seen to be a function of visual nets, mosaics, cobwebs of light energy. The transcendence of ego space-time was most often noticed. Subjects frequently complained that they became so lost in the lovely flow of timeless existences that the experience ended too soon and was so smooth that landmarks were lacking to make memory very detailed. The usual milestones for perception and memory were lacking. There could be no memory of the sequence of visions because there was no time, and no memory of structure because space was converted into flowing process. To deal with this problem, we began to program sessions. The subject would be asked every 2 minutes to respond, or he would be presented with an agreed-upon stimulus every 2 minutes. The landmarks would in this way be provided by the experiment. The temporal sequence could be broken up into stages. One of the first programmed space shots with DMT involved a 3-person crew, myself, Ralph Messner, and his wise wife, Susan. The instrument for radioing messages back was the experimental typewriter. The device is designed to allow non-verbal communication during psychedelic sessions. There are 2 keyboards with 10 buttons for each hand. The 20 keys are connected to a 20-pen polygraph which registers an ink mark on a flowing roll of paper each time a key is struck. The subject must learn the codes of the range of experience before the session and is trained to respond automatically, indicating the area of his consciousness. In this trip, it was agreed that I would be questioned every 2 minutes to indicate the content of my awareness. The session took place in special room 8x20, which was completely covered, ceiling, walls, and floor by warm, colourful Indian prints. The session followed the alternating guide model. Ralph and Susan were to act as interrogators for my session. That can't be fun. Ralph was then to repeat the session with me as ground control. At 8:10 p.m., I received 60 milligrams of DMT. Lay back on mattress, arranging cushions, relaxed and anticipatory, somewhat amused by our attempt to impose time content mileposts on the flow of process. Soft humming noise, eyes closed. Suddenly, if someone touched a button, the static darkness of retina is illuminated. Enormous toy jewel clock factory, Santa Claus workshop. Not impersonal or engineered, but jolly, comic, lighthearted, the dance of the body, humming with energy, billions of variegated forms spinning, clicking through their appointed rounds in the smooth ballet. Minute 2. Tim, where are you? Ralph's voice, stately, precisely, scientific, kind. What? Where? You? Open eyes? They're squatting next to me are 2 magnificent insects, skin burnished, glowing metallic with hammered jewels inlaid. Richly costumed researchers, they looked at me sweetly, dear, radiant, Venusian crickets. One had a pad in his lap and is holding out a gem-encrusted box with undulating tapestry, or trapezoidal glowing sections. Questioning, look, incredible. And next to him, Mrs. Diamond Cricket softly slides into a latticework of vibrations. Dr. Ruby Emerald Cricket smiles. Tim, where are you now? Moves box towards me. On yes. Try to tell them where, body. I'm swimming in tissue tidelands. Body consciousness. Use mind. Explain. Look down at undulating boxes. Struggle to focus. Use mind. Yes. Also, cognitive. There. Eyes closed. Back to dance workshop. Joy. Incredible beauty. The wonder. Thanks. Thanks for the chance to see the dance. Infinity of life forms. Finding exotic energy nets. Minute 4. Tim, where are you now? Spinning out in the tapestry of space comes the voice from down below. Dear, kindly, earthly voice. Earth station calling. Where are you? What a joke. How to answer. I am in the bubbling beaker of the cosmic alchemist. No, softly falling star dust exploding in the branches of stellar ivory birch tree. What? Open eyes. Oh dear. Lapidary insect friends. Ralph and Susan, beautiful orange lobsters watching me gently. Faces shattered into stained glass mosaic. Dr. Tiffany Lobster holds out the casket of trapezoidal sections, looking at glowing key. Where is Venusian ecstasy key? Where is the key for the stellar explosion of the year 3000? Cellular genetic. Yes. Hit the key. Tumble back to parasopic pulse. How nice. They are down there, waiting. No words up here to describe. They have words down here, there. See rolling waves of colored forms whirling up, bouncing jolly. Where did they come from? Who is architect? It all works out. It's all on autopilot. My body begins to disintegrate, flowing out into the river of evolution. Goodbye. Gone star space in organism pulses of particle motion. Release. Flashing light. Minute 6. Tim, where are you now? Earth voice coiling. You there. Mason hurtling in nuclear orbit. Incorporate. Trap the streaking energy particle. Slow down. Freeze into body structure. Return. With flick of open eye of the nuclear dance suddenly skids into static form. See 2 clusters of electrons shimmering. The energy dance core momentarily in friendly robot form. Hello. Next to the candle flame. Center of million-armed web of light beams. The room is caught in a lattice of light energy. Shimmering, fingers snap taps, molecular, ah yes, molecular. Eyes closed, but after image of candle flame remains. Eyeballs trapped in orbit around internal light center. Celestial radiance from the light center, light of sun, all light is sun. Light is life, live, loose, life, all life is frail filament of light. Solar silent sound, sun flare, light, life. Minute 8. Tim, where are you now? In the heart of the sun's hydrogen explosion. Our globe is light's globe. Open eyes drape curtain over sun flare. Open eyes bring blindness. Shut off internal radiance. See Kuro, fuck. God holding shadow box. Where is life? Press molecular. Keep eyes open. Fixed court. Hypnotized. Whole room. Flowered walls. Cushions. Candle. Human forms all vibrating. All waves having no form. Terrible stillness. Just silent energy flow. If you move, you will shatter the pattern. All remembered forms, meanings, identities, meaningless, gone. Pitiless emanation of physical waves. Television impulses crackling across an interstellar grid. Our sun, one point on astrophysical television, screen, our galaxy-tiny cluster of points on one corner of TV screen. The 10 billion year cycle of our universe is a millisecond flash of light on the cosmic screen flowing endlessly with images. Minute 10. Tim, where are you? Ground tower beaming up navigational query. Flood of amazed love that we can contact each other. We do remain in contact. Where was that cluster then? Hallucinating? Science fiction. Metaphors. Where is the key? There. Hallucinations, symbols, cells, molecules, merging hallucinations. My mind returns. Labeling, diagnosing the endless flow, loss of space-time, merging with energy flux. Seeing all life forms as physical waves, loss of body, existence as energy, awareness that our bodies are momentary clusters of energy and that we are capable of tuning in on patterns. The certainty that life processes are on autopilot, there is nothing to fear or worry about. Sudden understanding of the meaning of terms from Indian philosophy such as Maya, Mahamaya, Leela, insight into the nature and varieties of transcendent states. The void, white light, contentless, inorganic ecstasy, the Kundalini life force, biological squirming, moist, sexual, organic ecstasy. The singing genetic code blueprint, temporary structuring of form, ecstasy, and the minute 12. Tim, where are you now? Open eyes, laugh, caught by vigilant ground tower while orbiting around earthly mind figured it out area. He sounds a bit incoherent at this point, but that's all good. Where is the key for thinking game? Press cognitive, hallucinations, cells, molecules. Above head is light bulb covered with scallop-like blue shade. Circling up the glowing shades are ribbons of waves. Silent, beckoning, inviting. Join the dance. Leave your robot. A whole universe of delightful aerial choreography awaits. Yes, join them. Suddenly, like smoke rising from a cigarette, consciousness circled up, swooping graceful gull path up to the light source and soundless through into another dimension. Billions of protein file cards, helical in shape, flickering through, confronting me with endless library of events, forms, visual perceptions, memories, not abstract but pulsing. Now, experimental, a billion years of coded experience, classified, preserved in brilliant living clarity that makes ordinary reality seem like an out of focus, tattered jerky, fluttering of peep show cards, tawdry and worn. Minute 14. Tim, where are you now? Oh, where are we? Oh, listen, here's where we are. Once there was a glowing electric dot, a flash reflected from the heart of a cut diamond, which, oh there, now caught the light of sun flame and glittered. Sudden flash in Precambrian mud, the dot stirs and quivers with trembling strain, exultant, singing, throbbing, shuddering, twisting upwards, and a serpent began to writhe up and through the soft, warm silt. Tiny, the size of a virus, growing. The enormous length of a microscopic bacillus, flowing exultantly, always singing the Hindu flute song, always bursting out and foliating, now the size of the moss root, churning through fibered cunt. Oh, sorry, man. I couldn't. Fibered cunt, mattress moist spasm churning, growing, exfoliating its own vision. Always blind except for the forward point of light eye, now belts of serpent skin, mosaic jeweled, rhythmically jerking, snake-wise forward, now the size of a tree trunk, gnarled and horny with the sperm sap moving within. Now swelling, tubes send into Mississippi flood of tissue writhing, pink, silt, current of singing fire. Now circling globe, squeezing green salt oceans and jagged brown shale mountains with constrictor grafts, flowing blindly now a billion-mile endless electric cord vertebrated, writhing cobra singing Hindu flute song. Penis head throbbing. Jesus Christ. Blind, except for the 1 second each cell in the advanced parade is permitted that one moment, face to face, eyeball to solar flame, insight into the past future. Tim, where are you now? La Garda Tower repeats request for contact with the ship lost out of radar scope. Where? I am Eye of the Great Snake. A fold of serpent skin, radiating trapezoidal inquiry, swims in focus. Register conscious content. Where are you? Here. Internal hallucinations, cellular genetic memories. The session continued with 2-minute interruptions until the 20th minute in the same pattern, timeless flights into hallucinatory or pure energy. Vibration fields with sudden contraction to reality in response to the observer questions. The session suggested some solutions to the problem of communicating during psychedelic experiences. The person up there is being whirled through experiences which spin by so rapidly and contain structural content so different from our familiar macroscopic forms that he cannot possibly describe where he is or what he is experiencing. Consider the analogy to the pilot of a plane who has lost his bearings, who contacts La Guardia Tower by radio. The pilot is experiencing many events. He can describe the cloud formations, lightning flashes, the etching of ice on the plane window, but none of this makes any sense to the tower technicians who are attempting to plot his course in the 3 dimensions language of navigation. The person up there cannot provide the categories. The ground control personnel must radio them up. Cessna 64 Bravo, our radar scope show you are 15 miles southwest of International Airport. The red glow you see in the reflection of Manhattan. To head on a course for Boston, you must change your course to 57 degrees and maintain an altitude of 5,500. But the language of psychology is not sophisticated enough to provide such parameters, nor are there experiential compasses to determine direction. What we can do at this point is to set up flight plans. The subject can work out before the session the areas of experience he wishes to contact, and he can plan the temporal sequence of his visionary voyage. He will not be able during the flight to tell ground control where he is, but ground control can contact him and tell him where to proceed. Thus, during this session, when Ralph asked, "Where are you now?" I could not respond. I had to descend, slow up the flow of experience, and then tell him where I had been or where I had ended up. When the contact question came, I would be hurtling through the other galaxies. In order to respond, I had to stop my free rocketing tumbling flight, return near the Earth, and say, "I am over New Haven." The session was a continual series of come-downs. I repeatedly had to stop the flow in order to respond. My cortex was receiving hundreds of thousands of impulses a second, but in order to respond to ground control's questions, I had to grind the ship to a slow stall to say, "I was there too. I am here, but now that has moved too." The Heisenberg principle. Psychedelic research is experimental philosophy, empirical metaphysics, visionary science. That is something different. So, psychedelic research is experimental philosophy, empirical metaphysics, visionary science. That's probably the closest thing that I've could think about, actually. That's probably, I couldn't have said it better myself. Because when you are in these kinds of states, like, you can crack open your ontology quite a bit in ways that you can't possibly imagine. So, excuse me. Psychedelic drugs offer new perspectives on every aspect of human thinking, human behavior, human searching. There is no issue in psychology, physics, biology, and theology which cannot make use of these microscopes of consciousness. The discovery of LSD is as important to philosophy and psychology and religion as the discovery of microscope was to biology. Now that is really interesting because obviously these are proper these are discoveries and we should try and use them. It's just the fear of the new, and I guess cracking open your mind is not always seen as a fun experience, but it's necessary. Psychedelic drugs allow us to study directly, experimentally, empirically the problems which have perplexed philosophers for millennia. Indeed, the psychedelic drugs force you, like it or not, prepared or not, to become a philosopher. You are flung bodily into convulsive, terrorized contact with such ancient problems as what is real, what is true, what is good, what is beautiful. Since 1960, our psychedelic explorations have forced us agonizingly at times to deal with these crucial questions. We came to the exhausting conclusion that each person must work out all the answers himself. Okay. There you have it, folks. Work things out for yourself. Because it is a personal journey. And if you're always going to the tune of someone else's song, you're not really going to produce the results of your own song. So think about that. Yeah. Each person must be his own Moses, his own Augustine, his own Buddha, his own Aquinas, his own Darwin, his own Einstein. That is huge for me as well because, I think we tend to undermine our own minds and what we're capable of thinking and that kind of thing. So the idea is we're supposed to actually really be polymaths in all of these different areas, whether it be science, music, and psychology. And this is what we should be doing. The kingdom of God is within. The eternal light comes from within. The Christ is always within you. The kingdom of God is within you, people. This is what it means. This is what it means. Stop being the moon and be the sun. There you go. You have to experience their confusion, their groping ignorance. You have to work out their exultant answers. You must do it yourself in the swirling crucible of the out-of-the-mind sessions after you discover to your terror that the answers you thought you had were canned chessboard symbols. In our DMT experience, we dealt empirically with the issues of universals and names: God, devil, heaven, hell, good, bad, ugly, beauty. Our answer: nothing exists except undulating energy and flowing consciousness upon which the grasping mind imposes categories. And that's sort of what I thought about as well. Because if you put too much emphasis on like what's good and what's evil, like this deliberation on umming and ahhing whether you're doing good or bad, is like it hamstrings you. And you should actually sort of go beyond the nay or the yay. Go beyond yay or nay. Yay. Yeah, go beyond yay or nay. That's what silence looks like. Go beyond yay and nay. Categories have nothing to do with the energy flow. Any temporary energy constellation can be divine, diabolic, beautiful, depending on your symbolic interpretation. Liberated from his ego, he contemplates the laws of life and so realizes that knowing how to become free of blame is the highest good. That's actually really important because there's always a prima mobile for everything that we do, right? Like our trauma. Like to take responsibilities to sort of become the sun. That's what being a man is really about. It's more about taking responsibility and fulfilling your will and your purpose. That's what it really means to be a man. It's got nothing to do with being strong. Well, kind of is, but not in the traditional sense that we usually talk about. It's not about serving your country or having to be a family man and that kind of thing. Although you probably should be a family man, but like if your will is to not have kids and not marry, then don't do it. Doesn't make you any less of a man. So yeah. But the symbols, the names are real too. It is possible, indeed necessary, to create symbols for mapping and guiding. The symbols apply only for the space-time dimension were arbitrarily and consciously imposed. You and I can agree on names for certain game sequences, and we can communicate accurately within the game context. We call this first base and that New Haven. We can develop maps and guidebooks for different levels of consciousness, knowing that the names are artifacts, that the map is not the territory. That's always what we always have to keep in mind. The map is not the territory. The menu is not the food. It's just a representation. And usually the way we navigate our experience is through representation and arbitration, not really through truth. In fact, half the time, I think more than half the time, we are, even highly enlightened people, are barely using truth to navigate their experience. They're using models, although probably more refined models, mind you, of existence and things like that. The psychedelic experience is indescribable, ineffable, but so is every other experience. We can build a language to get you to Yankee Stadium at 3 p.m. on a summer Sunday afternoon and teach you how to score the game. We can build a language to get you out of your 20th century mind and spin you back into eerie LSD landscapes and teach you how to score the game. Neither scorecard comes close to matching the intricate energy exchange involved in the trip to the ballpark or the trip to your inner galaxies. But the goal and challenge of being a human being is to visit more and more distant ballparks and to build more accurate scorecards. Wow, that last part, man. That's probably a really important one. That was actually such a beautiful one because, like, people rest with the idea of duality every single day, right? And I think whether we try to go from a mono sort of perspective that there's no good or evil, or we go from a more dualistic perspective that there is good and evil. But it's sort of interesting. I tend to think of it is that if it caused some kind of negative charge, like if you're talking about like how mathematics, it's because as soon as there's two things, it's a plus one and a negative one. There's a negative charge, and it will eventually return to zero. That's unity. That's the devil. That's the eye opening. That's the eye of Shiva opening. As soon as there's no longer a one, it's a zero. And you can't divide by zero. Well, when you divide by zero, it becomes infinite. So that's it. Contemplation. The ablution has been made, but not yet the offering. Full of trust, they look up to him. So it looks like we have come to another ending trip. Yeah, we have. Fuck. It's hard to believe that we're near the end almost. And I've really enjoyed reading these, by the way. It's been very edifying for me. So thank you so much for watching. I'm yours truly, Baphomet. This is, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Support me on Substack, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.